Renata Glasc is our newest true support champion released in League of Legends, and aside from the mommy issues that some of you have making me feel uncomfortable about the champion,
Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry.
I, for one, think this is a pretty solid release that doesn't really feel like one of those other 200-year issues that we've had so frequently. But I could be incorrect about her overall power. While to me she feels balanced, early numbers in the first few days after Renata's release show her around a 50% win rate, which is uber high when people are still learning how to pilot her. In Master Tier Plus, her win rate is even higher, hovering around a 52%, which is even higher than most other established meta support champions. So what is the best way to play Renata and win consistently? Well, while we normally analyze one player on this channel who's had great success with a champion, Renata hasn't been out long enough to safely say one person is absolutely dominating on her or has that amount of time in. So similar to when we did the Vex support video when she was first released, I went out and analyzed dozens of players in Master Tier Plus who have had success with the champion, compiled the data on the most successful build and runes, and feel confident about delivering you a comprehensive Renata guide that can also help you achieve a silly high win rate with the champion. While Renata is all business, that doesn't mean everything she does is perfect, so let's talk about her weaknesses first. Renata is an immobile champion, and with low base movement speed, that makes her very easy to jump on and kill. Amplifying that problem is also her basic abilities that, while powerful, are all very low range. While her kit is strong, she doesn't offer much in the way of sustain or healing. And finally, and most importantly, Renata, alright, one more time. Mommy, never mind. But even with all these potential problems, our players have found a way to make it work. Like we mentioned in her weaknesses, Renata's abilities are all short range, so it will benefit you to pull the old early ward before minions spawn and swapping out for a sweeper trinket trick. For laning phase, abusing brush and vision like other skill shot based supports can help you more easily land your key abilities. Most appropriately at level 1, you should be leveling up Renata's E or loyalty program. Renata's E is a line skill shot that passes through minions and champions, both doing damage, slowing them, and shielding yourself and allies that it touches. This is a strong trading and poke ability throughout laning phase since it has both offensive and defensive components. At level 1, even if you don't dodge the enemy laner's abilities, you can regularly come out on top in an early trade since loyalty program offers so much value. It is extremely short range, however, so you have to aggressively position yourself to hit it normally and be careful of counterattacks if you're not in a minion wave or if your ADC isn't nearby. These early trades are also even more potent thanks to Renata's passive. Renata's passive marks enemies when she auto-attacks them and also does bonus max damage when she first applies the mark based on the enemy's max health and her level. If an allied champion also attacks that enemy while they have a mark, that bonus damage is triggered again and the mark will be consumed, allowing Renata to then auto-attack once more and reapply it again. It's easiest to describe this as exactly like Leona's passive, but just with auto attacks instead of abilities. And this passive is very welcome because Renata's cooldowns are so long. Her lowest basic ability cooldown at level 1 is her E at 14 seconds, but thankfully it scales down with level, which is why he levels this ability first. Her one ability that doesn't reduce cooldown with levels is her Q or handshake. It's a line skill shot that stops at the first enemy it touches and roots them for 1 second. After rooting something, Renata can then recast her Q and knock the target towards her cursor, dealing the same damage to the opponents that she drags them through, and if the thrown target is a champion, the secondary targets are stunned for 0.5 seconds. This makes her feel somewhat like a hook support because the way you'll be positioning and targeting this is very similar. Just like hook supports as well, a lot of the power of this ability comes from just holding it and threatening with it. If you use it on cooldown and miss the enemy, they have a long window to punish you, so only use it when you're sure you can hit it, or for peel when someone is after you or your carry. To assist in landing this ability more consistently, many high elo players like to utilize Renata's version of an early game combo by landing her E on an enemy, doing damage to them and slowing them, and then following up with her Q while they're slowed to more easily land her CC. You could also do the exact opposite of this combo if both enemy laners are next to one another by using your Q to grab the first target, reactivating Q, tossing them into the secondary target and stunning them both, and then using your E to hit both enemies with the AoE. This does more damage. Take note as well that while you have someone grabbed with handshake, you can move as well as use any other abilities, but you can't auto attack, which is sad. Another question you may have is if it's worth it to just try to throw minions into enemy champions, and it's really not. Since the stun portion only occurs if you grab an enemy champion first, there's really no benefit to throwing minions into enemies unless you simply messed up and missed a champion with the first half. None of our high elo players regularly try to do this. You'll max this ability last since its cooldown does not improve with level. Renata's final basic ability is her W or Bailout. This is the ability that everyone was up in arms about because it seems so crazy, and it really is. By using this on an ally, they get bonus movement speed and attack speed for 5 seconds, and if their health falls below 0, they'll gain temporary full health that diminishes over 3 seconds back to 0. But if they participate in a kill within that 3 seconds, they'll instead be granted 35% of their actual health back, effectively reviving them. A revive on a basic ability. It's super strong, and you can use this both on allies as well as yourself if you're in danger. Situations where your ADC just barely dies and the enemies are both super low now can turn into your favor with Renata. Early game, when this is on a longer cooldown and you're still even with your lane, you regularly want to save this for a moment when someone is about to die. Later in the game, or if you're super far ahead in lane, you can use this as a steroid instead of a saving mechanic, but you should normally just save it for the potential revive no matter what. You should know that shielding a champion when they're in that 3-second limbo state does not delay them from dying, but you can heal them at least one time to make it last slightly longer. All of these abilities in conjunction make Renata a good reactive champion more than she is a proactive champion. It's similar to when we talked about how Zillion support plays best when enemies are being aggressive into you. That same thing applies for Renata. Since her abilities are shorter range and using her W is dependent on someone almost dying, she thrives in situations where enemies are attempting to collapse on you, letting you use Bailout and more easily hit your AoE basic abilities. Before level 6, you want to stay active by trying to weave in some poke with Loyalty Program and look for enemies mispositioning for catches with Handshake, but it's going to be a less exciting laning phase on average. Her peeling and superiority in enemy offenses gets amplified even more when she finally unlocks her ultimate at level 6, or Hostile Takeover. Hostile Takeover is a long-range, slow-moving AoE that reminds me of Nami's ultimate or even Maokai's ultimate, but the CC it applies instead of a knock-up or a root is a new version of CC called Berserk. Berserk forces enemies affected to auto-attack the nearest unit to them, whether that be a minion, neutral camp, or a champion, and also whether it be friend or foe. Because it's so slow-moving, you can rarely use it by itself or as an engage ability alone. You need to use it as a follow-up to your team CC for a big wombo combo in tight quarters like in the jungle or in conjunction with your Q. Some high elo players were attempting to use it across large walls or from far away to catch enemies off guard, but even then, the times I saw it whiff, still, even with those advantages, was way too many times. Try to stick to those 3 situations I just mentioned when using it. Having her ultimate unlocks what we can call a full combo for Renata, where you should be landing your Q, snaring your priority target. Then while they're snared, use your ultimate to ensure it has time to travel to that target while they're CC'd. Use the second half of your Q, either knocking them into another enemy or closer to your team. Cast your E, hopefully through allies, to give your team a shield and do more damage. And then finish off with auto attacks and waiting to use your W on someone to save their life or help them chase someone down. You'll use this combo throughout the mid-game with Renata, where you're going to be more focused on sticking with a carry than a lot of other supports that we've covered. Your W is so important to allow you to help your win condition snowball that you'll want to lean towards them, whoever that may be, and roam less throughout the mid and early game. Her passive and her control mage-like playstyle with her ultimate make Renata very strong at securing objectives, so many of our high elo players try to play a macro game and move with or ping their junglers to do Dragon and Rift Herald throughout the mid game. Once team fights roll around, you have 2 objectives. The first is to act as a peeler for your team. Sticking with your win condition and playing towards the back of a team fight with your immobility will help both of you stay alive longest. Team fighting is a strong suit for Renata since the enemies will group up well for your ultimate without much fuss. You can help peel even better by landing good ultimates like we talked about earlier. When someone else on your team lands big CC, you use your own CC in conjunction to land your ultimate, or when the enemy team is fully committed and diving on the backline. Your second potential role in a team fight is to function like a pick support. You want to use your Q or handshake to fish for out of position carries to allow your team to jump on them and heavily reduce the DPS of the enemy team, turning the team fight in your favor. Regardless of what role you fall into in each type of team fight, you want to make sure that you're landing high value E's on your team. Renata's E is kind of like Lux's W, and where you can apply shields to multiple people with a skill shot, so try to hit as many of your teammates as you can from the back of the team fight to give you a big health advantage. For your build, you'll either want to start with a relic shield against long range or aggressive lane opponents, or a spell shield against short range or enchanter supports. From there, you'll want to rush your level 2 boots, almost always getting Boots of Lucidity for CDR, or against heavy CC, Merc Treads, or against near full AD teams, Plated Steel Caps. You'll then work toward your mythic item, to which almost every high elo player is building something different. Most commonly, people are enjoying Shurelya's for even more utility, Imperial Mandate for more damage, or my personal favorite, Locket for better peeling and damage reduction and to make you tankier. From there, for your 4th and 5th items, you can choose to buy standard enchanter items to round out your build, like a Putrefier, an Ardent Censer, or a Redemption, depending on your team and the enemy team. Or you have the potential to even go tankier, building something like an Anathema's Chains because it synergizes very well with Renata's kit, a Frozen Heart if you need more armor, or maybe even a Force of Nature if the enemy team is very AP heavy. If the game goes long or you need some more oomph in your build, you can purchase an Elixir of Sorcery. And throughout the whole game, like a good support does, you should be buying control wards and maybe a ward stone if the game goes very late. For your runes, there are a few options people are running. My personal favorite is the Glacial page as my default. In Diamond Plus, this is also by far the highest win rate page by a long shot. If you prefer a bit more offense, many individuals are also running this Summon Airy page for a bit more poke and shielding throughout the game. And if you are against a strong early game bot lane, some individuals are also running this Guardian page, which I wouldn't suggest. I think Guardian is poop, but it's up to you to try it and find out what you like best. Regardless of your main or secondary page, you should be going 1 attack speed for more passive procs, 1 adaptive force, and either armor or magic resist depending on your lane opponents. Renata works well with hyper carry ADCs like Twitch or Kog'Maw, or aggressive early game ADCs like Kalista or Draven. Renata struggles against longer range mage supports like Xerath or Zyra, or hyper aggressive supports like Pyke or Pantheon. Thanks guys for checking out this video. If you like this, I heavily suggest you check out our last support guide, which was on AP Zeri support. See you guys next time. Peace.